Riley was just 16 when he disappeared, and D4vd was the last person anyone expected to be involved. But when Riley's body was found in the trunk of a car, the shocking secrets behind D4vd's online world began to unravel, exposing a chilling story of manipulation, danger, and deadly consequences. It was a quiet Saturday morning when a passerby noticed something unusual parked at the edge of town. An old black sedan sat in the empty lot, its trunk slightly ajar as if someone had forgotten to close it. At first, the scene seemed ordinary, almost mundane, but curiosity quickly turned to horror when the person peered inside. There, lying motionless, was a teenage boy. Panic set in immediately, and authorities were called. The small town, normally calm and unassuming, was thrown into chaos. The victim, Riley, was 16, a boy known for his love of skateboarding, video games, and hanging out with friends. Everyone who knew him described him as cheerful, full of energy, and careful enough to avoid trouble. Now, he was dead, and the questions began. Who had done this, and why? Detectives quickly traced the vehicle's registration. It belonged to a young man who went by the online alias D4vd. 19 years old, he had earned a reputation among local teens for hosting underground parties and sharing videos on social media that attracted attention far beyond the neighborhood. Authorities knew that investigating him meant delving not only into the crime itself but also into a digital world where reality and online personas blended dangerously. Every post, comment, and message could hold clues, but it also created a maze of misinformation and rumors. Neighbors described D4vd as quiet, almost reclusive, though some admitted to attending his events. Parents were concerned, noting the growing influence he had over teens. Law enforcement officers began piecing together a timeline, examining Riley's recent interactions, the social media groups he was part of, and the events leading up to that fatal morning. Digital footprints painted a picture of a connection that was deeper and more troubling than anyone had imagined. As detectives reviewed surveillance footage from the streets and nearby stores, they saw Riley walking toward the car willingly, unaware of the danger that awaited him. There were no signs of a struggle, no frantic calls for help, just a boy unknowingly stepping into a situation that would cost him his life. The town watched anxiously, and whispers of fear and speculation spread like wildfire. Everyone wondered how a simple, familiar neighborhood could harbor such a shocking event. The discovery of Riley's body marked the beginning of a chilling investigation that would reveal secrets lurking behind screens, doors, and the seemingly ordinary lives of those around him, leaving the community shaken to its core. When police arrived at D4vd's home, the tension in the air was immediate and intense. Officers surrounded the house cautiously, weapons drawn, fully aware that any sudden movement could trigger a dangerous reaction. The quiet suburban street, usually peaceful, was now filled with flashing lights and the low hum of anxious murmurs from neighbors who had gathered behind hedges and windows. D4vd himself appeared at the door, a young man with a disheveled appearance and a mix of fear and defiance in his eyes. He did not resist, yet his body language hinted at someone who had secrets to hide. Inside, the house seemed ordinary at first glance: messy bedrooms, scattered clothes, and the faint smell of takeout, but detectives quickly noticed signs that something darker was concealed. Several locked rooms stood out, each potentially hiding critical evidence. Security cameras pointed at multiple corners of the house, suggesting a level of paranoia and meticulous planning. Devices lay on tables and shelves, some cracked, others encrypted, all pointing to a young man deeply entrenched in digital worlds. The authorities knew that these electronic clues could hold the key to understanding how Riley ended up dead. The search was methodical. Every drawer, closet, and cabinet was examined for documents, messages, or anything that could tie D4vd to Riley's death. Officers discovered notebooks filled with cryptic notes and sketches, a mix of mundane observations and disturbing plans. The tension escalated when a small safe was found hidden beneath a loose floorboard. Breaking it open revealed items that hinted at obsessions and patterns of behavior previously unknown to the community. Neighbors watched in silent fear, many whispering about the young man they thought they knew. Rumors spread quickly. Some claimed D4vd had a history of manipulative behavior, while others remembered seeing teens leave his home looking uneasy. Law enforcement officers worked tirelessly to separate fact from speculation, knowing that the public's reaction could complicate the investigation. By the end of the day, the authorities had secured the property and removed devices and documents for forensic analysis. Each discovery painted a more disturbing picture. Riley's death was not a random act, but part of a calculated series of events influenced by D4vd's obsession with control and attention. The raid revealed a hidden world where digital connections and in-person interactions intersected in dangerous ways, leaving the community shaken and desperate for answers. What started as a routine investigation had transformed into a complex case that would expose the shadowy side of teenage curiosity and online influence, with consequences far beyond the walls of D4vd's home. Forensic teams working on D4vd's devices uncovered a chilling digital trail that revealed the depth of his influence over Riley and other teens. Hidden in encrypted folders and private messages were detailed accounts of gatherings and challenges, many framed as harmless games but laced with manipulation. Riley's name appeared repeatedly, showing that he had been drawn into D4vd's world willingly at first, unaware of the growing danger surrounding him. The evidence suggested that D4vd had a fascination with control, using charm and subtle threats to ensure that his instructions were followed. Investigators discovered that D4vd had hosted multiple secret events, each more elaborate than the last. He used social media to lure teens with the promise of excitement, exclusivity, and recognition. Photos and videos revealed that participants often followed his directions without question, influenced by the attention and praise they received online. Riley had attended one of these gatherings, unaware that it would be the last time he would see the outside world freely. Security footage from nearby stores captured him walking toward D4vd's vehicle, calm and trusting, with no hint of the danger awaiting him. Digital evidence also uncovered messages between D4vd and a small group of older teens who acted as accomplices. They coordinated arrivals, monitored communications, and ensured that no one would interfere with D4vd's plans. Investigators realized that Riley had not been targeted randomly. He had been specifically chosen because of his personality, his curiosity, and his willingness to follow online instructions. Each piece of evidence painted a portrait of meticulous planning, a calculated attempt to manipulate and control events in ways that only became visible after the tragedy. A disturbing discovery came from D4vd's personal journals. Among mundane entries about daily life were detailed observations of behaviors, interests, and vulnerabilities of the teens he targeted. He noted their routines, fears, and how they could be persuaded to participate in dangerous dares. The writings revealed an unnerving mix of obsession and strategy, showing that the events leading to Riley's death were not spontaneous acts of violence but carefully orchestrated steps designed to maintain D4vd's sense of power and control. The investigation made it clear that the danger had extended beyond Riley. The web of online connections, secret gatherings, and digital manipulation created an environment where other teens could easily become victims. What began as a shocking discovery of a body in a trunk now expanded into a dark study of influence, secrecy, and the unseen ways that online relationships can turn deadly. Riley's death was a tragic consequence of curiosity, trust, and the hidden manipulations of someone who understood how to exploit both. Just when investigators thought they had begun to understand the scope of D4vd's actions, a shocking discovery changed everything. Weeks after Riley's death, a second body was found buried on the outskirts of town, hidden beneath a thin layer of dirt and fallen leaves. Forensic analysis immediately linked this new victim to the same social media circles that D4vd had dominated. It became painfully clear that Riley was not the only teenager drawn into a dangerous web of manipulation and control. Authorities began to reassess the entire case. What initially seemed like a single, tragic incident was now part of a much larger pattern. D4vd's influence extended beyond Riley, affecting teens who had never even met him in person but had interacted with him online. Messages recovered from multiple devices revealed that he had created a series of challenges, each more daring and dangerous than the last. These activities were framed as games, competitions, or exclusive events, carefully designed to exploit curiosity, peer pressure, and the desire for online recognition. As investigators delved deeper, they uncovered D4vd's journals, filled with meticulous notes that documented the routines, weaknesses, and personalities of those he targeted. Each entry revealed a calculating mind, someone who had anticipated every move, every potential obstacle, and every reaction from his victims. The combination of charm, intimidation, and digital influence allowed him to manipulate teenagers into situations they never would have considered on their own. The town, already reeling from Riley's death, was thrown into a state of fear and disbelief. Parents questioned how well they truly knew their children and how vulnerable teens could be in the digital age. Neighbors who had once dismissed D4vd as just another young man online now realized the danger that had been living among them. The discovery of the second body emphasized that the consequences of online influence could be deadly, particularly when combined with manipulation and secrecy. Authorities also realized that the network D4vd had created was not isolated. Other teens who had participated in his online challenges admitted, under questioning, that they had been coerced or subtly pressured into actions they would not have undertaken independently. The investigation revealed a pattern of psychological control, demonstrating how digital platforms could be exploited to prey on vulnerability and trust. With the second body, the case transformed from a local tragedy into a cautionary tale of manipulation, deceit, and hidden danger. Riley's death, while devastating on its own, was now a stark reminder that curiosity and trust, when exploited by someone as calculating as D4vd, could have far-reaching and deadly consequences. The town faced the sobering truth that the online world, while seemingly harmless, could conceal threats that were invisible until it was far too late. The trial of D4vd became a national sensation, drawing intense media attention and widespread public interest. Courtrooms were filled with reporters, parents, and community members eager to witness justice unfold. D4vd, once an anonymous online figure, was now facing multiple charges: kidnapping, manslaughter, conspiracy, and contributing to the deaths of two teenagers. The proceedings revealed the full extent of his manipulations, from meticulously planned challenges to the subtle psychological pressures he had applied to lure teens into danger. During the trial, prosecutors presented the digital evidence piece by piece. Messages, videos, and journal entries were used to show how D4vd had deliberately targeted vulnerable teens, including Riley, and orchestrated situations that led to their deaths. Witnesses, including friends who had attended his secret gatherings, testified about the coercion and fear he instilled. It became clear that his online persona had been carefully curated to charm and manipulate, masking the dangerous reality of his intentions. The community watched in disbelief as the meticulous and calculating nature of his actions was laid bare, showing just how easily trust and curiosity could be exploited. The families of the victims sought answers and closure. They spoke of lives cut short, of potential unrealized, and of the heartbreak caused by someone they had never truly known. The trial highlighted not only the devastating personal impact, but also the broader societal implications, the risks inherent in online interactions, the dangers of unchecked influence, and the need for vigilance among both teens and parents. After weeks of testimony and deliberation, the jury returned a verdict. D4vd was found guilty on multiple counts, and the sentencing reflected the gravity of his crimes. The courtroom was filled with a mix of relief, grief, and lingering shock. While justice had been served, the emotional scars on the community remained. In the months following the trial, the case sparked wider conversations about online safety, digital influence, and the responsibility of platforms to monitor dangerous behavior. Schools implemented new programs to educate students about online manipulation, and parents became more vigilant about their children's digital lives. The town slowly began to heal, though the memory of Riley and the other victim remained a somber reminder of what could happen when curiosity and trust are exploited. Ultimately, the story of D4vd served as a chilling lesson about the hidden dangers that can lurk behind screens and closed doors. It demonstrated how easily digital interactions could be weaponized, leaving lasting consequences for victims, families, and entire communities. The tragedy remained a stark warning. In a world where online connections are so easily made, danger can strike when least expected, and the line between the virtual and the real can sometimes have deadly consequences.